Well, hey, welcome everyone to the Coffee and Calling podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tyler.
And I am one of your hosts, Anna.
And it's been a great week.
Yeah,
you know?
It really has.
Yeah, just awesome. We just wrapped up a great conversation with somebody we both know.
Good.
Yeah, we both know so well. And it was one of my friends and one of your people in your life. And you'll get what this means later, you know, and all that. But yeah, super excited. We had Kasey Kalk on the show, Anna's former RD when she was living in Reed, and a friend of mine. We went to college together. But let me tell you a little bit about Kasey. So Kasey was a resident youth pastor at 12 Stone Church in Atlanta, Georgia. After that, she moved on to be a resident director at Bryant College. And then kind of in between stints as an RD, she was also the director of spiritual formation at Bryant College. Very impressive lady so far, right?
Very. What a resume.
I know,
so
right?
Far.
She came back to Indiana Wesleyan, where she went to college and where we're recording this podcast right now, and was Anna's RD for a couple of years. Shout out, Reed Hall. Reed Hall. And then now she is doing some really impressive things that I'll let her explain with youth ministry events here at Indiana Wesleyan. So sit back, grab some hot coffee or some cold coffee. Some nitro brew or something, if that's a thing.
Like that.
Yeah. Sit back, enjoy this conversation with Kasey Kalk. Well, Kasey Kalk, welcome to the Coffee and Calling podcast.
Thanks. This is exciting. I love this.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here.
Well, thank you.
So we both know you. You know, at one point you had ultimate authority over Anna.
That's true.
That's one way to put it. Okay.
Yeah, Anna, how do you know Kasey?
Yeah, she was my RD in Reed Hall.
Reed Hall, shout out.
Shout out Reed Hall my freshman year.
Reed Hall. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, the tradition lives on, don't worry. Yeah, the Reed Hall Ducks. And then
shout out Ducks.
Shout out Ducks.
Yeah. The rubber ducks.
Yep. And then this past summer she was my boss for summer ministry teams. Yeah.
Summer ministry teams. Tell me a little bit about summer ministry teams. For those that don't know, tell them about summer ministry teams.
Summer ministry teams is the best job you could probably ever have over the summer. And Iowa gets together different groups of like 5 college students and then sends them out in some 12-passenger vans to different summer camps all over the country.
Yeah.
So,
and Canada.
And Canada.
No way.
I know.
Yeah.
They had to get passports and everything.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you had to do all that administration, right?
With a huge help of Maddie Hines.
Shout out.
Big time.
Shout out
Yes.
Maddie Hines, friend of the show.
Yes.
Wife to producer Ian Hines.
Yes.
Shout out Ian Hines.
Legendary.
Just all the shout outs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out.
Yeah. And I actually know Kasey because we roughly went to school together, and we are
What
friends.
do you mean by roughly?
Yeah.
Friends.
Yes, that's right. I mean, you know, you did great in school. I just went through school, and I think that's how it's the roughly part. Yeah.
Got it.
Allegedly, I went through school. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So
still up in the air if that actually happened. But
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But friends, you know, all
only
of that.
Friendship here on this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We can just take these away then, right?
We can, and we'll just do it lower. Yeah. Great.
Cool.
So, Kasey, we went to school together. You're a year older than I am, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you were a sophomore when I came in as a little baby freshman. Yeah. So adorable.
Little
living
freshman
in
Tyler.
So cute.
Living in Hudson.
Living in Bowman.
Oh, it's Bowman.
Bowman.
Wow. How dare I?
Yeah.
The legend of Bowman
was
lives
really-
on through him.
Bowman.
It really does live on.
Yeah.
It'll never die.
No.
It needs a whole
never. Not
podcast
with
in and
him.
of itself, for real.
Honestly,
That's
it should.
true.
Bring Austin Prodsman up here. Shout out Austin. Another
That's
one.
right. The Bowman boys.
That one. Yep.
Yeah.
Ring
Did
the
you live in
bell.
Reed Hall when you were?
No.
Oh,
Fun fact: I
Wow.
didn't ever live in.
That would
Reed.
have been a crazy full circle.
that would have been awesome.
I don't have
But you were an
that.
Evans gal, weren't you?
I was not. Wow.
Where did
what
you
is
live?
going on? I lived in Beckett for 2 years.
Shout out Beckett, I guess.
Shout out to Beckett. We
yeah.
love Beckett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
no favoritism.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, none
Yeah.
whatsoever.
None.
Yeah. Go Evans, where my wife lived.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Shout
also
out
Evans
Evans.
is great too.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
of them are great.
all of that to say, you're a friend of the show. We're all friends.
Yes. And they're back.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. But you've been a pastor, as people heard in the intro. You've been a resident pastor at 12 Stone in Atlanta. You've been an RD in 2 different places. You've led chapel services. You're basically like, Queen Spiritual Bee at Bryant College, right? That's how that goes. And now you're doing a job that is like, it couldn't have been written for a better person to do this job.
Right.
So why don't you tell us what you do here at Indiana Wesleyan and give us the details.
Yeah. So here I am the director of student engagement for youth ministry events.
Woo, woo.
Which, full circle, honestly. It kind of combines the initial sense of youth ministry being the thing, got to be in youth ministry for a little while, and then went into more college student focused ministry, and it brings those 2 things right together of getting to serve and walk alongside and be a part of the development of college students, getting to do youth ministry and allowing them to lead and initiate those spaces and strategize those spaces, put together those spaces. And it's pretty cool in that way of my focus being the college students, but empowering them to do and serve in the youth ministry realm with the conferences that we do. So we do Fusion, Never Too Young, Fusion being the high school conference we put on in April, Never Too Young being the middle school conference we do in May, and then it's hiring summer ministry teams where we bring them together, but then we send them out and they serve students all summer long, either middle school, high school, some kids camps too. And then, So
you work a bunch behind the scenes, but you also work a bunch in front of students and impacting, and you do a little teaching as well, correct?
I get to teach a class in the fall, which is super fun. Woo! Spiritual Formation 2.
Yay.
That has been, that's been a highlight for
That's
sure.
awesome.
That's a good time.
And just a fun fact about Kasey, this is like the most incredible thing ever. She works for Minnie Mouse. That's like her
fun fact.
IRL.
The
Minnie Mouse.
Funnest of facts. Yes. Funnest is not the correct grammar, but
that's right.
I like it.
But shout out Disney.
Shout out Disney. Look at me. Ready?
Starbucks.
Ready?
Wow.
Not just one, but 2.
Hey.
Look at me. I'll do it in the camera.
Love
it. Sponsor
Make that
me.
the thumbnail.
Yeah. Disney, if you would like to.
You're listening?
Disney, if you want to sponsor, please do it. But
not as much as I love Jesus, but I love you.
Pretty close.
On the side, you have a side job. Your side hustle is that you are a legit travel agent for Disney.
Yeah, yes. So you don't, there's not officially a Disney travel agents. That is not a thing.
So you're unofficial. Got it. Cool.
We are with an officially authorized, Disney authorized agency.
Cool.
I work for that agency. Where we advise people on all things Disney travel, as well as we do Universal, we do some other cruise lines, all sorts of things.
Wow,
yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm still fresh, so I'm focusing on Disney first.
Smart.
And I love Disney.
Smart.
So I'll live there for a little while. But eventually, I can start.
And the name of your travel agency that you work for, what is that?
Minnie's Travel Boutique. So Minnie,
so
working for Minnie. It's a great team, faith-based group. Like, there's such a heart for, I don't know, it's like a ministry that I didn't even know could be a ministry. That's just been such a blessing to be like, hey, as humans, rest is really important. And like stepping away from life sometimes and like reclaiming joy and like the joy that this life has to offer us and the things that we do have where we can find fun and excitement and rest and family and friends and a little childlikeness too, with the Disney. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Well, we'll drop your link in the notes.
I would love that.
She did not know we were doing that. Yeah. But
thanks, guys.
If you need to plan your Disney trip and you want to do it with somebody who's allegedly super cool, awesome, funny, very knowledgeable about Disney, allegedly.
Yep.
If you see her Instagram that she runs for her business, you would know that she's very knowledgeable about Disney.
I'm nothing if not passionate.
If you want a passionate person about Disney to plan your Disney vacation, Kasey will do it.
So how many times have you been to Disney?
So that's a great question.
Let's just say she doesn't have enough fingers.
Okay, so part of that is because my grandparents retired to Florida and they lived like an hour away and they got annual passes. So like we couldn't like use those, but we would go with them when we'd go for like a day. So I haven't done like a ton of like more. I've done more now because I have adult money, and my husband loves it too, which is like win
bonus.
Bonus.
In the interview process to be your husband, you had to answer that question.
That was a key. We went to Disney together when we were dating, and that was a good like. Okay, I think we can.
I think he's the one. Yeah.
But we would go for just like a day and hang out. And
so you've gone 30 plus times.
I don't know about 30. I think I'm
29.
Close.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Basically, we can trust you to plan our trips with much knowledge.
Yes,
yeah.
Been to Disneyland, Disney World, both of them. Hoping to go on a cruise sometime soon.
Sweet.
You should go to the one in Paris.
I also want to do the international ones. That is on the bucket list for sure. So
I hear Disneyland Japan.
Oh my gosh,
is great.
Disney Tokyo.
I think they're also building a new one.
Really?
Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
Oh, the whole thing.
That one's gonna be wild.
Yep.
A
little bit of all. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
All sorts of stuff. Anyway.
But Kasey, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast.
Love it.
Oh,
we have a question for you. This podcast is all about hearing the story of how people are called into ministry, and you have one of those stories. So, Kasey, would you please share?
Get ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's intense.
Okay.
Would you please share the story of how God called you in to ministry?
Yeah. That's great. This is great. It's cool to get to kind of remember, the practice of remembrance. This is a fun way to get to do that. So I'm trying to think of the best place to start. I was born on
in the beginning.
We won't go back that far. But in middle school, so my whole childhood and whole life, I have a chronic genetic disorder, digestive disorder. So my health journey has been a big part of my journey. And when I was in middle school, it kind of hit the worst it's been. I was hospitalized for a while. I had to have serious surgery. That was a big point of my life and also just my spiritual journey in general. That was kind of through my health journey at that point. I was literally in 8th grade. I was 12, I think. I learned that Jesus cared for me personally. That was kind of where I realized that. I grew up in the church, in a Christian family, rich heritage of ministry in my family as well, which is really cool. I have generations of ministers going back multiple generations.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
And we all know and love Mark DeMichael. Shout out.
Shout out to Mark DeMichael.
Yeah.
What a man. What a man.
My mom is the biggest prayer warrior I've ever met in my life. She would drop my sister and I off at school and she would drive in circles and just pray over the space and pray for other students and pray for the school, pray for the teachers. She was an educator for years. So she just has a heart of gold. So even just my parents emulating a lot of that. And so I grew up in a really beautiful family that just really, it was safe and it was encouraged and it was just a joy in my life from the time I was little. And I always say too that I just loved being at the church building. I was one of those kids that always wanted to go to, we had kids club at College Wesleyan Church back in the day. And so it was weeknight stuff for kids and we would just play hide and seek in the church. And it was just so fun. And I loved just being in the building, being at the place, being with people. I've been an extrovert since I came out of the womb, literally. I just love people.
Sup, Doc? How you doing?
But I just have always loved it. And then, my health journey, just realizing I'd always known of Jesus. I'd asked Jesus into my heart. Dad prayed with me, all that fun stuff. And I knew that Jesus was this really cool guy that wanted good things for all of us.
Shout out Jesus.
Shout out Jesus. But again, it was that my parents would read scripture with me every night when I was in the hospital.
Wow.
And we'd just pray together. And one of the main passages, they would kind of switch it up, but they always read Jeremiah 29:11 over me, which I know everyone everyone knows Jeremiah. But as a 12-year-old who was sick and didn't understand fully what was happening, to hear that it was the Lord knows the plans he has for me. Listen and come pray and I'll take care of you. Just hearing those words as I felt like crap and didn't know what was happening, but to just hear that it was Jesus does know what he's doing with me.
Yeah.
He has me. He holds me. He knows what he's doing with me and he knows the purpose of my life. I don't have much, I don't have anything to worry about. Obviously still wrestling with but why do I have to feel this way?
Yeah.
But it was just oh, this is great. God has something in mind for me. And so that was kind of the start of that, and I came out of that. It could have gone worse than it did. But I was able to come out of that and begin a healing journey. It's been a long journey and I'll always have a little bit of some chronic stuff, but I also have seen the Lord's purpose in that of getting to use that to help encourage others and all of that kind of stuff. But it was through that, being in the hospital. I was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. And I had a few people that came and visited me more than anyone, and multiple times, which was just like, I mean, I was at Riley, so it was like an hour and a half from Marion.
Yeah.
And I had people that came and visited me multiple times. And one of those people that visited me more than anyone was Charlie Alcock.
Oh.
He had just started at JC Body Shop. He kind of came in to kind of help revitalize that youth group. He had just started, and I was in middle school. I mean, he was going to do the whole youth group, but you know, you step in and you start easing your way into all the things. And so he kind of started more with the high school side and was overseeing what a lot of the parents were doing to lead the middle school side. So I hadn't really interacted with him even much at all yet. Like, I knew of him, and I knew that like my dad had multiple conversations with him. Like, he was doing a lot of really good stuff. But I'd barely interacted with this man, and he came and visited me multiple times. So I was like, oh, well, this guy's pretty cool. Like, I'll probably stick with this youth group thing going into high school. Like, that seems pretty great. And so I did. And I went consistently, again, kind of just kept up that, like, I just loved being at church. And like, Charlie was super fun. So I was like, well, this is great. Got to meet a lot of cool people. And what was really cool was, again, could have gone bad, ended up like on a really cool healing journey, saw the Lord so evidently, saw the Lord in a new way that I hadn't before. And I was a freshman in high school, and Charlie positioned me I got to share my testimony in front of the whole youth group. And at that point, the youth group was probably like over 100 people in the high school side of stuff. Like, it just blew up really quick. And so it was like, for him to position this little pipsqueak freshman girl to like share in front of everybody and like, again, get to share that testimony, and him empowering the power of testimony. And doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing, like when the Lord is faithful, we share and celebrate in that together. And so him just allowing me to be in spaces and positioning me to be in spaces to share the Lord's faithfulness was just really cool. And I felt really seen and welcomed and invited and loved and supported, and all of that. And then I went to my first summer camp the summer after my freshman year. It was Fairmount Wesleyan camp.
Shout
that
out.
place. I know. But I'd never really done overnight camp up until that point, partly because of health stuff and just scheduling different things. And we would travel a lot in the summer. But I was like, I want to go to camp. So it was a little scary because I was still kind of coming off health stuff. So that was a little bit, but it was close by, so it worked out. But yeah, the tradition of Fairmount Camp at that point, I think they still do, but I don't know. But we would go to Pine Lake.
They still do. Yeah.
Pine Lake.
Weather permitting, always.
We go to Pine Lake. Pine Lake, what a wild time. But it was the Wednesday night of camp, I will always remember. And it was the foot washing ceremony. They always would do a night at Pine Lake. Sorry, mixing all the words together. We'd do a night at Pine Lake. They would do a sermon. Someone would preach, and they would try to do, I don't know if they did it every year, but that year, that's what matters, was they did encourage a foot washing ceremony for youth groups to kind of get to do together. And so that was also when Charlie actually announced, because again, he came in to kind of revitalize our youth group, but the goal was always for him to bring up the next leader, you know? Which is just a cool, sustainable way of, I think, doing ministry and stuff and helping things grow and sustain beyond us, you know? But he basically, like, he announced that night that he was like, my time here is it's going to come to an end here soon, but this is why Matt Beck has been around. Shout out Matt Beck. This is why Julia Hurlow has been around. Shout out Julia. Like, they're going to step in and they're going to run this, and it's going to be great. And like, the Lord is so working in this space and on purpose and for a purpose. And so he shared that. So that was emotional, but it was also just like the beauty of community. And like, he had us look at each other, and just, it was a really, really cool night. And then Charlie had us line up by the water, all of us that were there, and he washed every single one of our feet and prayed with each of us. And when he got to me, I realized I don't think I shared my testimony, but again, I was a freshman. Still learning how to even put thoughts together.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I don't think I ever actually shared the Jeremiah 29:11 thing. I just kind of would talk about, like, I just now know that the Lord sees me and cares about me, and would kind of share that loosely, you know. And he prayed over me, and he prayed the words of Jeremiah 29:11 over me.
Wow.
And I remember in that moment going, I want to be what he's been for me to someone else.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that initial, like, okay, like, and even recognizing, I was like, I've always loved being at the church. Like, my job could be the church. Like, that's
prophetic,
so cool.
prophetic.
Yeah. And so it was like, oh, I want to be a youth pastor. And so, yeah, that's going into my sophomore year of high school. So that was kind of wild of like, okay, so what does that look like? And then it was like, oh, I can go to like IWU. Like, that's what Charlie's going to do. He's a professor at IWU. Like, that'd be so cool to learn and study ministry in college. And so that became a more formidable plan, I guess, to be able to do that. So that made the rest of high school fun. I used that. And I look back on it and I'm like, Kasey, I can't believe you did that. We all do that, right? Where it's like, oh, high school. Woof. But I'm like straight up told a teacher one year that I was like, we were supposed to sign up for our like senior year science class or whatever. And they were giving the different options that we could do. Because shout out Marion High School. There's so many opportunities for different sorts of college credit or different tracks you can do. It was great. It was a great experience.
Awesome.
And they were like, here's the options that you can do. And I literally remember telling the teacher, like, I don't need to learn science. I just need to learn about Jesus. And now I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. There's purpose in learning all the things. Embrace the season you're in. But anyway, I do remember saying that.
We always look back on those times and think cringe.
Yeah. Cringe.
Hey, that's how I feel about gen ed sometimes. So I get it.
Yeah. There's a place and a purpose for them.
Purpose.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I pulled them one of those cards, so that's fun. But yeah, and then thought I considered like Biola randomly for a second. So I was like, I'm getting out of Marion. And then I was like, JK, I'm going to go to IWU. So I landed at IWU. Best experience. Majored in youth ministry.
So good.
Shout out STM.
Shout out STM.
And Charlie's your advisor through all of that?
Charlie is my advisor. Yeah.
Or at least he's in charge of the youth ministry stuff.
Yes. And I'm having classes with him. He, as a freshman in college, which at this point, like freshmen weren't really involved because the fusion leadership team looked a little bit different at that point. We had our 3 executives, but there was a leadership team that was a little bit smaller. And so I was invited to be on that leadership team as a freshman, which like, again wasn't a thing. What? I am a pipsqueak. Like, what is going on? Why am I being put in these spaces? But Charlie just invited me into these spaces. And so I got to be a part of Fusion in a pretty high capacity as a freshman. And I did it all 4 years and did Never Too Young a couple times too.
And crushed it every time.
I mean, panic involved in that for sure. But yeah, we did it. It happened. So
yeah.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
So yeah, I feel like that's kind of, here we are. It's evolved, I guess. The calling has evolved over time, which has been part of the lesson, I think, along the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting to do a lot of ministry opportunities as a college student and then going to 12 Stone and doing the residency, which residencies exist to kind of be that in between, right? Like you spend 3, 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 years in the classroom learning, which is purposeful, absolutely. But they were noticing a trend of just a lot coming out of college, maybe feeling more prepared than they actually were. Like, that disconnect sometimes that's natural and it's hard to prevent. You can't really prevent that. But like a lot of pastors burning out and just trying to make observations of why and what and all of that kind of stuff. And so the residency programs were a big initiative to kind of help with, or at least hopefully help with some of that, of just giving a intentional time to do practical ministry full time. We get to do it in a coaching setting where you are given a coaching pastor. Yeah. You're doing active ministry, like you're doing the job, you're doing the work, but you're getting to do it alongside someone who's a little bit more seasoned, have that mentorship relationship. They're walking you through it. You're learning. It creates space for those mistakes that sometimes I wish we didn't do that, but just sometimes the human lean is like, oh, I've messed up. I have to run away. And it's like, oh no, mistakes are a part of learning. And so.
And a residency allows you to fail safely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so
exactly.
Good.
So that was cool. It was a lot. I had an interesting journey in that. And I will say I left that actually pretty burnt out just because of the circumstances of my coaching pastor ended up getting a really great opportunity and leaving at just a few months into my residency and took a little bit to bring someone in. And so we saw numbers drop, which again, your priority is not numbers, but it's just the idea of like, I'm a baby out of college.
Yeah.
And that pressure to kind of know what to do to help sustain this ministry that's been running average over 300 middle schoolers a week. And now we're like maybe hitting 100, which is still like insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But just the pressures that kind of come with that. And I had an incredible mentor that still stepped into the interim role and like mentored me in that. And he was just a godsend. But yeah, I left that pretty, just because of multiple things, pretty like, woof, this was not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard, because I left and then I was like, oh my gosh, am I abandoning my call? Like,
right.
I did this for under 2 years. Honestly, I left a little early because it was just like so much practical experience.
Yeah.
Really quick. So I ended up leaving the residency after about 1.5 years. And yeah, the wrestling of like, did I fail? Like, have I failed?
Yeah, because we often think calling, it is a lifetime calling, and it is to ministry. But oftentimes I feel like a lot of people hear their first initial calling and think that's what they're going to do for the rest of their life, no matter what. But God leads us through different seasons of doing things. And you're a perfect example of that. Youth pastor, huge, giant, practical ministry. And then you jump after that into being an RD and shepherding in a different way. Still doing ministry, still pouring into lives, but stepping into that role is different.
Yes. And that was a really beautiful thing too, to have the Lord just so kindly be like, this is meant, like, this is shepherding. Literally, that was kind of the phrase that became the like this is life on life. This is your living. This is Frontlines ministry. Like, you're living in the building with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that the proximity you have to them and the access you have to them, like the uniqueness that provides. And I think it was actually when I came back to IWU, and Andrea Summers, who's our campus pastor,
shout out,
did a training for RAs here at IWU. And she's like, this is the closest to monastic living you'll ever get. And I was like, whoa, like that's kind of crazy.
So
and like, again, just the beautiful opportunities for discipleship that living with each other, living amongst each other, really provides, and also taught me boundaries, which we don't want to overuse those either.
That's
but
right.
like, it was really where I think even my journey in even just the topic of spiritual formation, which is always there, right? That's a part of the whole thing, but really leaning hard into spiritual formation and the journey of spiritual formation, being an RD really kind of sparked that passion of it being a journey. Like you said, like, it's so easy to kind of come out of college and be like, this is what I've majored in. This is what I've decided I'm going to do. I'm going to do that forever. And like, it feels really permanent. But to be like, oh no, like, first and foremost, whatever job we hold, we are moving through life with the Lord, and the Lord is forming us and molding us and fitting us into the greater picture of the kingdom, right? And we're constantly walking and learning and growing in that. And so like, that being the priority of like, okay, wherever the Lord positions me, I know he is doing an intentional work in me for the sake of his kingdom. Robert Mulholland's definition of spiritual formation is literally being formed into the image of Christ for the sake of others. Like, that's kind of what it's for. So it's not this self-care thing, but it is this like, oh, I matter in this equation. Because God cares about me. Why would I not care about myself? And I see so many burnout in ministry. There's so much pressure on that. External, and just as even like accessibility has changed with technology, like there's just so much pressure to be accessible at all times. And it's just like, how often did Jesus retreat? Like, how often did Jesus remove himself from being accessible so that he could pray, you know? And then he'd come back and he'd be available and he would open his arms and he'd welcome people. But yeah, just learning those rhythms came definitely more with my time in higher ed in general, has been RD, and then leaning into formation for a year at Bryan and what that looks like, and envisioning that for students, and then also being like, oh wow, no, I really need to think about this for myself. Like, this really matters for the sake of this calling that I have and the different ways the Lord is positioning me to live that out. And learning job isn't entirely tied up, because, you know, we can like combine those really easily of like job and calling are the same. And like, job is a way to live out that calling, but our calling runs so much deeper than all of that. And we are also called to be brothers and sisters, daughters, wives, husbands, like all of those kinds of things. Like, those are also a part of our calling. And so all those pieces matter. And so right-sizing job more as just a facet of, not to minimize it, but as a way to be faithful, but not the way to be faithful.
Because then that gives chance to like for it to ebb and flow and change, and then you're not just stuck in one place.
Right.
That's good. And for example, when you're called to be a pastor and you're called to that kind of vocational ministry, and He's putting you there for the long term.
Right.
You not only have the responsibility to equip people to do the actual work of ministry.
Right.
It does not disqualify you then from then being the ordinary Christian that you already are.
Yep.
You have to still live in that kind of ordinary, whatever Christ calls any follower of his to do, you still have to do it.
Yep.
But you have the added responsibility of equipping people to then go out and do that more.
Right.
Because it's not the job of the pastor to do all of those things.
Right.
It's not the job of the pastor to be the Christian for everyone.
Right.
And be the evangelist, the minister, everything like that. Right. It is still your normal duty to just be a Christian.
Yes.
And then teach people how to do it themselves.
Yeah. Well, like how Charlie did for you.
Right. Exactly. Well, and it's amazing what diving into truly what the Lord means by forming us. Right sizes control again. I think pastors, because I know I did, and again, I don't want to like tell anyone else's story, but like it's really easy to struggle with control because it is this like I feel this responsibility. So it's starting from this place of like I want to steward this call as best I can, but that can so easily fall into if salvations aren't happening, if this isn't happening, if this isn't happening, if my numbers aren't growing, if my like we can really start looking at results.
Yeah.
Not that salvations don't, obviously we are all vying for people to like come to the Lord, and that's why we do this work. But like if we get so caught in the results to be the thing that edifies our calling or our position, like it's just like we have to right size the role that we play in this, and not that like God in his goodness allows us and wants us and longs for us to participate. Like that's just the goodness of God that we get to participate in this. But like he's in control. Like, and like the relief that I think I've found in some of that. Like I'm in a spiritual direction program right now to be a spiritual director, which is a beautiful ministry. I think it's finally kind of finding its way into more Protestant circles. It's been a practice in the Catholic Church for, generations, literally. It starts with the Desert Fathers. So it's like, this goes way back. It's just didn't quite make its way into some.
Shout out Desert Fathers.
Yeah. What a wild time that was. Anyway. But that's been a really key part of my journey with spiritual formation too. And just, that like, what control do I actually have? And that actually being relieving. Again, our flesh can sometimes be like, I have to like know what I'm doing. And the productivity temptation, the results temptation, which is all valid and fair, but it's just like, we get to do this with the Lord. And like, again, in his goodness, he allows us to partner with him and positions us to partner with him, longs for us to partner with him. But really we aren't the saviors, he is.
Praise God.
We don't save people, right? We do our darndest to be in spaces to really truly show what Jesus is and who he is and what he can be for them. But he's the one that saves people.
Yeah.
So
that's so
good. So good.
It sounds like the theme, like you were just talking about how you're learning even more about God being in control. Sounds like that's been a theme of like your whole life, really, when you look back in your 8th grade year in Jeremiah and just talking about God being in control and just seeing that throughout your whole life. That's like really cool.
100%. Which I think shows itself still sometimes in strongholds, right? Like I'm like,
for sure.
I'm also still human and the journey goes on, right? I'm, oh my word, almost a decade removed from school, which is crazy.
The harmony?
Nailed it.
Because we both feel how crazy that actually is.
Wild. Like I turned 30 this year, which is also the best. I actually kind of love it. I'm like, I'm 30 and I love it. Get me out of the existential dread of your 20s. But yeah, I think it's just, again, that grace and gentleness that comes with like, like I get to keep learning about the Lord and about who he's called me to be and who he's created me to be.
Yeah.
But a big stronghold, which is, again, kind of a crazy thing sometimes we don't know all the nuances of, but just how so often that thing that the Lord has purposefully taught and shown faithfully and been such a key part can also sometimes be the thing that the enemy uses to be like, okay, you think that, I mean, the story in this garden, like, he repeats the word of God. He just twists it just enough to be like, he takes that good thing and twists it just enough to make it a lie. So anyway, we don't need to get too deep into that, but I have realized that I struggle, like my struggle, not constant, but like my continuous, I guess, in a way, just that struggle that I can so easily fall back into.
Kind of like a thorn in your side type deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I was like, what word am I trying to say here? Has been control and fear. Like, which again, I think fear can maybe even still be that underlying stronghold of control. Like, I'm reaching for control because I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared of what's going to happen if I don't, you know, if I don't try to take control, if I don't try to do this or figure this out, that has been just a thing the Lord has so kindly and patiently kind of continued to mold me and teach me in new ways. I keep, you keep thinking you learned that lesson and it's like, oh, but again, the Lord just continues to reveal himself through that and just drawing us back and drawing me back into like, hey, I've had you this whole time. Again, the importance of remembrance too, to just be like, hey, remember when you're in the hospital and we read Jeremiah 29:11 and I spoke that over you? Hey, remember when you came out of that? Hey, remember when you were called to ministry? Hey, remember when I told you I was the author of your calling, not you?
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah,
so.
like those things still apply now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nugget that I think a lot of people need to take from this is when you're called into ministry, you're going to go through low moments, whether it's in the job, whether it's in life, you're going to find that low point and you're going to question. Everybody will question. Am I even still called? Was it even real to begin with at all?
Yeah.
And you can point to the story that God has already weaved through and you can latch yourself onto that because God's already been faithful in that.
Yeah.
And if you can trust in what he's already been faithful in, it can be easier to trust him with what's going to happen.
Yes.
And I think it's incredible for you that, you know, Jeremiah 29:11 was read in the hospital room and Charlie was a thread throughout the thing. And I don't think it's been mentioned yet on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But he is currently your boss now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You work for Charlie
Key
now.
point. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So not only is Charlie kind of this, he's a faithful individual in your life and he's clearly been used by God in your life to be at every stage of the story, but he's just another kind of like marker, kind of not an altar like in scripture, something that we use to remember moments. And you can look at Charlie and you can say, God has used you so powerfully in my life.
Yep.
And the more I get to work with you, the more I can just be reminded that God's got me.
Yeah.
And he's in control.
100%.
Because who would have thought?
Oh, my word.
That you would go from graduating to go be a youth pastor, and that's what you're going to do forever, to now you're working for your old youth pastor in a university, helping other youth pastors grow and develop in being a pastor.
Yeah.
Wild. Who would have thought?
It's crazy.
You couldn't write a book.
Won't God
like
do it?
Yeah, right?
Won't God do it? Only God can do it.
Absolutely. So good.
Yeah, it's a wild ride, but it's beautiful. And again, the things you learn of just that, our Western mindset to avoid, and maybe not Western, maybe it is just human. I don't want to, that human tendency toward avoid pain at all costs.
Yeah.
And like, which again, there's so much grace in that because pain sucks. Like, why you don't want to go find it necessarily, but just in God's goodness, again, which I know I'm saying a lot, but it's just like, you can't say it enough, you know, to be like the ways that he uses pain and the ways that he meets with us in that, to just say like, this is not going to be taken for granted. Like, you're never going to be taken for granted. My plan is never going to be taken for granted. And the beauty he brings from struggle and the strength that comes from struggle. And that's always kind of my biggest thing for people, where we can get into the nitty gritty of like, why should I believe in something I can't see? You know, when you start getting into that stuff. And sometimes I just kind of want to be like, hope. Like, if anything, I have this thing to fall back on when I inevitably face pain, when I inevitably face suffering. I have something to hold, and I have something that can hold my anger, pain, questioning, doubting. Like, God can handle it, you know? And I'm just like, when the world fails at knowing what to do with people's pain, God doesn't. God holds it, and God can take it. And so, and he can take my anger in it too. And so, and then again, the like, who I become thanks to that. And because of that. And the story that's being written beyond me too in that, and the things I get to say and hold and do in the company of other. Like the God story is just incredible. So anyway, those are
and Dr. Chris Bounds, theology professor from here at IWU and now at Asbury.
Shout out Chris Bounds.
Mega big, huge shout out. One of my favorite people on planet Earth. Yeah. He was giving a distinction of the difference between pain and harm. Pain is something that can grow us. Pain is something that God can use and refine us in the fire, as First Peter talks about, and and all that. But harm is something that we should avoid. We should avoid the things that truly harm us, destroy us, break us more. Pain is not something to be avoided. Pain is something to be endured and grow from. Because God can use it to do so many incredible things. God can use it to give you a great job that you probably can't at this point think you're ever going to leave it. And it's so good.
It's
so good. It's so good.
Amen.
Do we have time for
follow?
Okay.
We do.
Okay, perfect.
It's always time.
Yeah. So you had touched on just your experience with burnout, and I know that is just a huge topic of conversation in the church today. And so I'm just curious, would you be willing to share more of your journey of once you left that season and you realized how burnout you were, what brought back your life, and what gave you your fire for ministry again?
That's a great question, by the way.
Such a good question. Because I think
teach us.
Oh my word. Not that I have all the answers either. Nope. But burnout is such a buzzword, right? Either people are like, we overuse burnout and we're scared. People are too quick to use the word burnout. We can kind of want to start.
Or it doesn't exist.
Is it even a thing? And we just flesh all that stuff out way too much. But truth of the matter is, I left exhausted and I left not wanting to do ministry. I left being I don't want to do this. I have nothing left to give. I am running on beyond empty. I don't want to do this. And I literally, and again, I know I felt like I couldn't. It was I can't. I can't serve right now. I can't fill, or not that we do the filling, but I can't offer. I don't have anything to offer.
You're
I
empty.
feel like I'm empty. So burnout, yes. Honestly, space. We need to be better about taking space.
Absolutely.
And again, it's even that right sizing my role again of just recognizing that it's thankfully the Lord is willing to use me, but the Lord will move in spite of me too. Wow, and it's just, it's not up to me. Faithfulness is not just do it in spite of yourself. It's, and that's, we can flesh that out too, but it's just, or it's even faithfulness isn't just do this in spite of your emptiness because, and yes, absolutely, the Lord is our strength. But again, and the Lord moves in spite of us, but what harm can we do if we are not at a place where it's God is not in control? I am being pushed and motivated by, which again, this was something I was able to identify when I was at 12 Stone, was I was living into what I thought other people's expectations were of me, not even my calling. I had lost sense of my calling and realized it was I am here because I think this is what people expected of me. I was positioned to do leadership in college. I was high achieving. I was, again, a lot of that even still, I was I don't to be in these positions. What's going on? So I was positioned even in spite of myself, but it just was this okay, I'm high achieving. I was hired to do the residency my junior year of college.
Wow.
It was early. It was I knew what I was doing my whole senior year. It just was this and then I just morphed those good things of people being this will be perfect for you. And this will be, you're going to be so good at this. And all of that. And let that be that was the first thing on my mind was if I don't do this, people are going to be disappointed. Which I was I don't even know. I was thinking for people, we are purposely not given mind reading powers. That's just not the thing, I would tell my RAs that all the time. It was always don't do or not do something based on what you think people are thinking.
Right.
That is not, don't live in a reality that's not real. That's not fair.
Wait, say that again.
Don't live in a reality that's not real.
Yeah, because you move past that quick, but that's so good.
Yeah,
good.
Don't live in a reality that's not real.
That's
or
so
again,
good.
based on what you think people are thinking, because the only way to know is if someone's willing to share that with you. And if they're not, that's not your responsibility, your problem, your weight. that needs to be something that's communicated to you in order for you to feel like, anyway, so little sidebar, but
that's good.
That was part of, I think, again, what led to burnout was it was in a sense, I wasn't dependent on God. I was dependent on people pleasing. And that was the forefront of what I felt like I had to live into. And so I held it honestly for probably too long. Like in some ways, I'm like, I probably could have left earlier because I just was like, I still loved people. I was still energized by people. I was still energized by the Spirit moving. But again, a little bit of that disconnect of like my purpose is defined by the Lord, but I was looking in the wrong places for it.
Yeah.
And so again, just that space, I moved back home for about 4 months and just lived with my parents and I substitute taught. So I was still kind of in spaces with that generation that I still felt a pull toward, but it was just time to sit and pray and exist, honestly. And like, pursue God and ask God and wrestle a lot and wrestle with, which I still wrestled even going into that residency or job as a resident director. I was still wrestling with that. Like, did I abandon my, and like God gave me space to do that. And I needed the space. Wow. So,
and I think space, you mentioned it earlier about Jesus retreated.
Yeah.
And he took his space.
Yep.
And it reminds me of Matthew 14.
Mm-hmm.
He feeds the 5,000. There's this incredible moment that's happening, unfolding, and a miracle is happening right before their eyes. Then there's a space we're going to get back to, and then Jesus goes and walks on the water. But in between that space, there is a whole timeline that if you actually like plot it on a timeline, Jesus goes and he retreats alone. He sends his disciples out on the water, and he goes and retreats alone for anywhere from 6 to 9 hours by himself. In a stationary place on the top of the mount. And he's praying, he's resting. There's no way he's on his knees the whole time just lifting up prayers or just listening. There has to be a moment in there he's just resting.
Yep, 100%.
And he in his humanity, he is connecting with his heavenly Father.
Yep.
And he is going back to that well.
Yep.
And Jesus is a unique example in that he is both 100% God and 100% man.
Yep.
But for us, it's an example.
Yes.
He shows us, he models for us what we need to do. He does this incredible thing with feeding the 5,000. And then he takes 6 to 9 hours just in solitude with his Father. And then he goes out and he does more.
Yeah.
But there's that huge space, and it's only 3 verses in Matthew 14. But if you plot it out, that's how much time he's there.
Yep.
And we need space. So you're 100% hitting the nail on the head with that.
And again, burnout being, you have to. Like, if you just keep pushing, again, that's where I think so much harm has been done because it's like, well, there's too much on my, like, what happens if I leave? And like, this is going to sound kind of weird, but like, this is something my dad would say and hear the heart behind it, not just this, but like, everybody's replaceable.
Yeah.
Like in a job, again, it's like right size that job thing again. Like obviously the Lord doesn't want to replace us, but like he created us for a purpose on purpose. But like in the professional sense, even if it's vocational ministry, like everybody is replaceable because it's like
he can use anyone.
He can use anyone. And like, and also how does he want to work in us and use us in this time and in this space and in this place? And what is he doing in people? And are you the right one right now, know? And it's just like, not that you're wrong to do it, not that you're wrong for ministry, but it's just, again, it's like for the sake of the people, as well as for the sake of the soul that you have and the body that you have that God gave you, step away, like take time. And the pace in which we try to live at is just so not actually what needs to happen. The busyness, the hurry, ruthless elimination of hurry. I think
Shout
is one of the.
It's
oh
right
my gosh,
there.
is it sitting right there?
Yeah,
move all my Disney things. So, but it just like that is such a timely book because again, I think we can just get again. It's that results. It's that productivity. It's that it's what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And it's just like we gotta just be. Like we gotta be before we can do. It's just because we are not the well, like we have to go to the well and we have to be filled up in order to go and have something to serve and give. So
I was listening to a John Mark Comer podcast. Shout out John Mark Comer.
Shout out.
And it was over how to be like a non-anxious presence.
Yeah.
And he talked about the retreat of Jesus, but then Jesus always returned. And so just like listening to your story, you had that space of retreat where you were still serving, just in a different capacity. But just to see your faithfulness to like return back to the ministry and like back to the calling that the Lord, like what a faithfulness of the Lord, and like your obedience is just so cool.
Oh, thanks.
So.
Well, and and you even said too, like what kind of brought that life back. And honestly, again, I think I entered the RD role and I was still wrestling with God of like, am I being faithful? You know, like, is this okay? Which is so funny that we do that with ourselves. But like I got so much life out of that RD role. Like I got so much life out of living life with these women and getting to empower these women and do life with them in close proximity. And it just was like, this is so faithful, you know, and like even just feeling that affirmation from the Lord and allowing myself to feel that affirmation from the Lord of just like, this is like, you are being faithful. And so to see, even if I wasn't fully back to the point of being like, I am living, like I am here because God put me here. Like I didn't do anything to make this happen. Like I couldn't have positioned myself to do this. Only God could have brought us there and allowed that opportunity. And which I didn't go into details about how that happened, but it is clear that like only God could have done it. But it just is like to know and recognize too. And I had to take time, like I had to slow down and sit with the Lord. Not that he doesn't move when we're hopping and bopping from meetings and conversations and anxious moments with others and like walking through those with people, but like I was able to find times of retreat, whether it was multiple days or just going for a walk and just like seeing how the Lord showed up to just be like, think about how much life you have right now that you didn't 8 months ago. You know, like you are loving being around people again. You are loving even as simple as that, like you're loving being around people again. You're enjoying conversations about ministry. Like you're enjoying conversations about even hard conversations. Like you're around a lot of people that don't. Honestly, that was a space where I was like the highest number of a different theological leaning when it comes to women in ministry. So that was even just a really beautiful journey to go on too, of like, that was a challenge. That was really hard. I was challenged a lot. My calling was challenged a lot, but I got so much life out of getting to do life with people and just have conversations. And so that evidence of the Lord too, to be like, if I hadn't had that space, those could have looked a lot different. I still left that again pretty tired just because it is like that wears me a while. And I don't know if I left the healthiest, but it like, and I recognize that in myself, but it's just, again, the Lord's faithfulness to just draw us in, pull us out, grow us, mold us, use us, fill us for all of his purposes. And again, knowing when to also pull us away, you know, and kind of say, let's step away for a little bit and know that there's a new thing coming, and it's okay for you to take space with me and let me fill you and let me remind you.
It sounds like the theme of space comes out in two ways in what you're talking about. Step away, which is absolutely something when God calls you and leads you to do it, and then slow down.
100%.
I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, the Nothing Is Wasted podcast with Davey Blackburn. So good.
Good one.
He had a guest. His name was Carlos Whitaker.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Big fan. Shout out Davey Blackburn. Shout out Carlos Whitaker.
Shout out at all. So I was listening to that episode and I found just the coolest fun fact that you could possibly drop about this idea of eliminating hurry and slowing down. Do either of you know the average mealtime back in the 20s, 1920 versus 2020? Do you know roughly the difference?
Oh, it's probably insane.
Yeah. So
I don't know what it is. But.
If I'm remembering right, the average mealtime used to be about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
The current one in 2020,
30 minutes?
12 minutes.
12
minutes. We have completely eliminated. We have squeezed the maximum efficiency out of the food having time. We've wrung out all of the conversational and humanity pieces of it. And we've made it just the consumption of fuel to go be more efficient.
Wow. You think people taste their food in 12 minutes?
No, they inhale.
And then that's also why I think there's I'm going to say it. I think that's why there's so many GI issues.
There you go.
We're eating too fast. Yes. Your gut needs time.
Yeah, we need to Fletcherize our food.
Yes.
So
I know.
The Fletcherization process is when
that's
you chew.
A big word.
It is. Do you know the old game Boulder Dash? Do you know that game?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite words from that. So the Fletcherization process was made by this guy, Dr. Fletcher or whatever. He said you consume the most amount of nutrients out of a bite when you chew it more than 30 times.
We've tried. We've tried. Remember when we tried?
It's difficult.
And it
hard.
like disintegrates.
I remember trying that after an episode of Full House. There's an episode of Full House at some point where Danny talks about like he makes the kids chew their food a certain number of times.
So
and I was like, interesting. It was only like 20 something, so it wasn't even 30. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
It's crazy. But yeah, we're doing away with all of the like God created the process of eating to be a pleasurable and enjoyable thing, not just alone, but with the company of people as well. And we've eliminated all that. We go get McDonald's. Shout out McDonald's because I love McDonald's, all right? We get McDonald's. We go back to our chair or whatever, wherever we're eating. We inhale it. And then we go back to work.
I'm going to give a shout out.
Disney.
To the Disney Institute. So I got to go to the Disney Institute a couple weeks ago, which they do professional development. Fun fact. Best thing I've ever done. Oh, my word. I already love Disney, so it was already going to be good. But like legitimately, it was above and beyond anything I'd ever done before. And one of the field experiences was to go to one of their laundry facilities, which was honestly like we got to go into the parks, which was awesome. But like the laundry was one of my favorite things that we did because it was so fascinating about how they work all that together and the community that those people had. Like anyway, but one of the highlights of going to the laundry was they brought us first into their break room. And their break room, there are two opposite walls with like probably 5x5 cubbies of microwaves. And that was like the first thing I noticed. And I was like, there's so many dang microwaves. I'm like, what in the world? Also, how does their electrical handle that? Anyway, learned later they did that from cast member feedback and added a breaker so that the electrics could handle. Because, and they do this, they have this many microwaves because everyone takes their lunch together. All operations stop. They all go and they sit and they eat together. Maintenance can come in and like check the machines and check all the different things and just make sure things are going. But like operations stop for, I mean, it's an hour because that's our, standard or whatever in the US is that like that hour of lunch, whatever. But everyone stops together. And I was like, that is so profound. And also, again, like just, it wasn't a Christian conference, but it just was like, oh my word, like the reflection of like, what actually is so much more edifying and beautiful as human, like the pace that we really should like that. And the simple beauties that come from that. Again, they were like, this is one of the longest, like average longevity of employees is there because they are like the average is 10 years and they have employees that have been working in the laundry specifically, haven't moved to other things, even when they've been offered to move to other things, working there for 45, 50 years. Like, and so it's just like, there are things that it's like that impacts that and that impacts longevity. Not that that's the only thing that matters, but just sustainability and flourishing. Like we are allowed and called to flourish in this life that we've been given. And pace is such a big part of that. So
we're not called to just survive. We're called to thrive.
Right.
Come on, John.
Don't just survive.
Live to the full.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hello.
All right, Anna, would you hit Kasey with our final question of the day?
Our final question.
Bring it up.
If you could time travel back to yourself when you first felt the call into ministry, what advice would you give?
Honestly, I think I said it earlier, but that like let God author your calling. Don't be the author of your own calling. Don't feel the pressure, which again, I think perspective is a funny thing. I think again, that purpose of the journey, right? Like when we're young, we don't have the perspective of all things. And that's actually on purpose, like we're not supposed to know everything. We're not supposed to know how it all goes together. So sometimes with that, it's hard because it's like so much of that was purposeful. Like I needed to go through the things that I went through in order to learn that it's like, oh yeah, right. I don't have to feel the pressure of writing my own story and maintaining and like doing it right. I am just called to live faithful and like God move me and mold me and prompt me. And, it's that kind of that classic thing of like God's will is not a tightrope, like channel. And we're kind of moving and he's guiding and prompting and moving and using and positioning. And we just talked about it too with like the current mode of ethics is right and wrong. And it was like, but like in ancient times about like it's good, better, best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'd tell my younger self a little bit of like, don't get so caught in what's right and what's wrong, and just easier said than done, but like get caught up in the story God is writing for you, not the one you're trying to write for yourself.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah,
He is our good shepherd.
Yes, amen.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kasey, for coming on and sharing part of your story with us. It has been such a blessing to me.
And me as well.
And friends to Tyler.
Friend. Yeah, friend.
I thought after this we would drop that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
Yeah,
we're there. I thought we were there before, but whatever.
Yeah. Thank you again just so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. This is, like I said, remembering is really powerful. So I'm also like, wow. This was a blessing to get to do. So thanks.
So good.
Thanks everyone for listening, and may your cup overflow this week.